Greetings, adventurer. This is a video on how to stop procrastinating and follow your purpose. But instead of being a boring self-help video, I'm going to use video game analogies to help make it make sense and to make it effective for you. So first, here's a little story about me. My name is Kaizen and I'm known as the Quest Guide. Nice to meet you. Video games have been a huge part of my life since I was about 6 years old. I went to Harvard and I studied philosophy. And while I was there, honestly, I didn't go to class very much. I just played a lot of video games. And the good news is that led to me starting a video game esports production company. And I worked at Riot Games after I graduated for about 8 years. So me and video games go real deep. But in 2020, I quit my job because I wanted to find my calling in life. And then in 2021, I did. I started a company as a life coach, and now I help people make positive changes in their life. Around then, I stopped playing games as much because I just wasn't that into them at the time. But about 3 weeks ago, I got really re-addicted to a game called Teamfight Tactics, or TFT for short. And that's actually a game I played professionally for a few months after I quit my job in 2020. And at first, it just started with me installing the game again to play with a friend for fun. And then that very quickly turned into me using the game as a break between sessions of working. And then 45-minute breaks turned into 3-hour-long breaks. And then that turned into me playing games way past my bedtime and ruining my sleep. And then when I spent an entire Saturday alone by myself, canceling all of my social plans, playing this game that actually wasn't making me feel good after I played it, I realized there was something to look at. And even though I hadn't played games in years, I was still kind of addicted to them. And just to be clear, I love games. I'm always gonna play games, but TFT in particular is a little hard for me to just play casually. It just hits a certain part of my brain, you know? But the good news is, it inspired this video. And I'm gonna share some insights on compulsive behaviors, how to stop them, and how they're getting in the way of your purpose. Now, here's the first insight. You have a mana bar and it's limited, so you need to be careful about what you spend your mana on. For this insight, I want you to imagine that you have a mana bar floating over your head all through your life. And that mana bar goes from 0 to 100. Now, this mana bar represents the amount of energy that you have to do things every day. And it does refill, but it is limited. So you need mana to do everything. That ranges from big things that might cost 50 mana or more, like doing the things necessary to start a business, or coding a project for fun, or creating a video like this. Or maybe the things just cost 5 to 10 mana, like playing a video game, or reading a book, or watching a self-help video, or going to the gym. So let's say that generally the big spells cost around 50 mana and the little spells cost around 5 to 10 mana, right? Now, in addition to having a mana bar in your life, you also have quests that you need to complete. And one of those quests is fulfilling your purpose, which is represented by your career or your calling. You could think of this as your main quest. And on your main quest, there are challenges that you need to overcome and monsters and demons that you need to slay, like self-doubt demons or fear minions or boredom monsters. Now, you'll need mana to overcome those monsters, but if you're spending all of your mana doing low-level spells, you're not going to have enough mana left over to cast a high-level spells. So now imagine it's a new day and your mana bar starts at 100. And you know that you have this whole day to get through this whole dungeon with a variety of small challenges and bigger challenges. And you are going through this dungeon spamming the level 5 fireball over and over and over. And every time you do, it costs you 5 mana. And now you get to the boss fight. And because you've been spamming fireball the whole time, you only have 30 mana left out of the 100 that you started with. But in order to beat this boss, you are going to need a level 40 or higher spell like Inferno. But because you wasted all your mana earlier, you just don't have enough mana left and you get stuck on the boss and you get your ass kicked over and over and over. Now, it's the same thing in life, because if you want to win the boss fights in life that give you the best rewards, you are going to need a lot of mana and you're going to need it consistently. I mean, if you want to start a business and leave your job, then you're going to need mana to reflect and figure out what you even want to do with your career. You're going to need mana to craft a business plan. You're going to need mana to develop a product. You're going to need mana to deal with the fear of being rejected by people that you're trying to market and sell the product to. So it's really important that you save and manage your mana accordingly. You have limited mana and you simply can't do high-level quests if you're spamming low-level spells all the time. And from a practical standpoint, if you know that you're going to have to do something that day that requires a lot of mana, what if you put the thing that requires a lot of mana first? So if you know that you have to take an hour to journal or to design a business plan or something that's going to require a lot of mana, instead of waiting till the end of the day when you're going to be low on mana because you're tired, what if you just did it at the beginning of the day? That's what I do, and because I kept the big objective out of the way in the beginning of the day, then I can use the rest of my mana later in the day on stuff that's spammy and fun, and I can waste a bunch of time on TikTok without feeling guilty about it because I know I handled business earlier. Now, here's a second insight. Higher level spells result in higher level rewards. So for this one, I want you to think of a boss fight in a video game. Everyone knows that boss fights and high level monsters produce better weapons, armor, and loot than low level fights with low level monsters. So you can farm 1,000 low level monsters, but you're probably just gonna keep getting rewards that suck. They are not rewards that you'll be proud to show people. They will not be rewards that make you feel accomplished. But if you use your mana to beat bosses, then eventually they're going to drop rare and legendary items. And it might not happen the first time or even the second time, but if you keep farming the bosses repeatedly, eventually something epic will happen. It's the same thing in real life. Life is a massively multiplayer, open world role-playing game. The highest level rewards come from facing the bosses that plague every human: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And if you show the courage to leave your comfort zone and do something that's scary but is calling to you and face off against those monsters, you will get the kinds of rewards that you're looking for. Not just material rewards like loot, whether that's cars or houses or whatever you care about, but really epic achievements like leaving a legacy of impact and meaning. And most importantly, you're just gonna have way more fun, because in a game, it's fun to advance and progress. And why would it be any different in life? So I asked myself, what kind of rewards am I actually getting from playing TFT in the way that I'm playing it? And I want you to ask yourself, how much enjoyment are you really getting from spamming social media, or marijuana, or drinking, or a lot of the ways that you kind of spend your time and you don't feel great about afterward? So the lesson here is, if you play crappy games, you get crappy prizes. And the final insight is this: all addictions and forms of procrastination are just an expression of a need that you have. So there's nothing to feel bad about. Tony Robbins identified 6 core needs that all humans have. Those needs are certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. Now, all humans have these 6 needs. We just go about fulfilling them in different ways. For me, playing TFT was giving me a sense of variety, because it was just giving me something different to do in the day rather than working all the time. It was also giving me a sense of significance, because there's cool badges indicating your status and your rank in the game, and it's fun to show off to people. And it was giving me a sense of growth, because it's a very difficult, complicated game, and it feels good to get good at it. Now, there's nothing wrong with an addiction. It's just a misplaced way of meeting a need that you have. But when I reflected, I realized that TFT actually wasn't meeting my needs very well. It was giving me some variety, but honestly, I probably could have met the same need with something like fire spinning, which is another hobby of mine that I've wanted to get good at for years. The significance wasn't all that good, because at best, it's like I get a bunch of internet points to show off to my internet friends and I get internet status. And yeah, I mean, it gave me some growth, but guys, it's not something that was gonna help me a lot in my future, nor would it really be a highlight of my past if I look back on my life. But rather than beat up myself about it, because that's not what we're doing here, we don't beat ourselves up over games, I just found a different way to meet my needs. So I started fire spinning more regularly, which helps me with variety and growth. And I got inspired to make this video that you're watching right now, which gives me a sense of significance and contribution. There are short and long-term ways to meet your needs. There are productive and destructive ways of meeting your needs as well. So again, here are the 6 core needs that you have. How are you spending your mana right now to meet those 6 needs? And how would you ideally like to spend your mana to meet those needs? Let me know in the comment section a new way that you plan on using your mana to meet your needs, and enjoy your playthrough of